The man never could have imagined that because his past self possessed the devouring power of gluttony. This cheat-like ability followed him even after he was reborn as a goblin. But that wasn't the most unbelievable part. Goblins may be the weakest race, but they can keep evolving, and their growth cycle is incredibly short. Though Jack looked like a teenager now, he had only been born about 2.5 days ago. To grow stronger faster, Jack teamed up with the strongest goblin from his cohort. They hunted together. The other goblin would chase the prey, and Jack would hide in a tree to deliver the final strike. Their teamwork was perfect, and Jack was pleased, until the other goblin tried to keep all the food for himself. Jack immediately beat him up and made it clear who was in charge. Jack then took the rabbit horn to use as a weapon, and the meat was split evenly between them. They ate their fill right away, but Jack got an unexpected reward. He gained a new skill, Fleetfoot, which increased his movement speed. In his past life, Jack had gained many abilities through gluttony, but they were all reset after his rebirth. Still, Jack wasn't worried. As long as he had gluttony, he could dominate this world too. With Fleetfoot, Jack could now hunt horned rabbits alone, so he decided to aim for stronger prey. He headed to the tribe's treasure storehouse, a place filled with items stolen by older goblins during raids. While choosing materials, he noticed many human women kept there. He understood why they were there, but as a goblin now, he couldn't exactly interfere. He returned to crafting weapons instead. Then the tribe elder noticed Jack seemed different. He told Jack, a light tap on the head would reveal the current level. Once you reach level 100, you can evolve into a higher form, but such goblins were rare, maybe one in several dozen. Jack found it interesting. The next day, he added another member to the hunting team. Goblin-May would provide ranged support from a tree, while Jack and the strong goblin fought up front. In just 2.5 hours, they took down 2 venomous snakes and 3 armored rats. After the hunt, they ate well. Goblin-May even cried while eating. Back in the tribe, he could only eat bark, but with Jack, he got to enjoy real food. Jack took a bite and unexpectedly gained 3 new skills: infrared sense from the snakes, venom toss, and strong poison resistance. He was thrilled by the surprise gains. For the next 2 days, Jack continued hunting with the team and building their coordination. On the 3rd day, they found a cave. Curious, they went in to explore, only to run into a huge swarm of bats. They nearly died inside, but Jack used his snake's demon eye skill to frighten the bats temporarily, letting them fight their way out. Of course, the bats they killed weren't wasted. The 3 ate them for lunch. Jack gained 3 more skills: echolocation, blood flow control, and life drain. They ate heartily, but the other goblins who couldn't hunt were left starving. That night, some jealous goblins tried to ambush Jack, but Jack had infrared sense. He detected them before they could get close. Unsurprisingly, he beat them up as a warning. Goblin-May was still angry and wanted to beat them again. The next day, the 3 went hunting once more. This time their prey was a hobgoblin. After defeating it, Jack made a decision that would change the tribe. He shared the leftover meat with those who couldn't hunt. In his past life, he never helped the weak, but now he felt a sudden urge to lead his kind. That night, no one dared to ambush Jack again, but a message suddenly appeared in his mind: special conditions met. You may now evolve into a hobgoblin. Jack was exhausted and just selected confirm. The next morning, he woke up in a new form. No longer a green-skinned goblin, he now looked much more human and resembled his past self. Not only him, the strong goblin had evolved too, taking on a human-like form. Goblin-May watched enviously. Even the elder was shocked. Jack and the strong goblin hadn't even been alive for a month, yet they had already evolved into rare hobgoblins. The strong goblin spoke to Jack. He really wanted to test how much stronger he had become. Jack thought he meant going hunting, but the goblin said he wanted to fight Jack. Jack didn't refuse. They went to a forest outside the village. The strong goblin was left utterly confused. He once again realized how powerful Jack was. Then Jack's sensing skill triggered. A wolf pack was approaching nearby. He ordered Goblin-May to bring the crossbow they had made earlier. They were going to battle. Soon they reached the plains. Jack immediately focused on the pack leader. Under the leader's command, even hobgoblins couldn't escape. In just 2.5 seconds, they became food. Jack's plan was simple. He had Goblin-May hide in a tree and ambush the leader first. Of course, a normal arrow wouldn't take it down, so Jack used his venom toss skill to coat the arrow in poison. Once the leader was gone, the black wolves were left disorganized and couldn't use their signature teamwork attacks. Jack and the strong goblin picked them off one by one. After the fight, Jack found the leader's body and ate it without hesitation. This time, the skills he gained were even better: pack tactics, steel hide, and herd commander. The man never could have imagined that after being reborn as a goblin, he could evolve infinitely. After defeating the orc, he had evolved into a mid-tier goblin, and now, after taking down the forest lord, the Crimson Bear, he not only evolved again but also gained a god-tier all-element resistance. Just half a month earlier, Jack had become the leader of his goblin tribe. His daily tasks included absorbing new skills and training the goblins who had hatched around the same time. But on this day, a group of sturdy goblins entered Jack's territory, thinking it was an invasion. Jack was told by Old Gob that it was the expedition group returning. They had brought back plenty of supplies, the most noticeable being 5 human women. This gave Jack a headache, though he knew it was driven by reproductive instinct. Jack, having been human in his past life, couldn't accept it, so he asked the expedition group's leader, Gobsword, to hand the women over to him for safekeeping. But why would Gobsword agree? A greenhorn like Jack trying to take his women? With 2 leaders from different generations clashing, it instantly escalated into a tribal conflict. Just as both sides were about to fight, Old old gob was at his wit's end. Fortunately, Hobbly and Hobster from the expedition group stepped in to mediate. They didn't want to get dragged into a battle, so they suggested the two leaders settle it with a duel. The winner would decide the tribe's future direction. No weapons allowed, of course. Gob's sword agreed immediately. He wanted to teach this upstart a lesson, but in just 2.5 seconds, he was pinned to the ground by Jack's new skill, thread manipulation. Gob's sword protested, questioning where Jack got the threads. Jack replied it shouldn't count as a weapon. It was part of his body, something like saliva. Hobster was impressed. He hadn't expected such a powerful fighter to emerge while they were away. And so, Jack officially became the tribe's leader. He then placed the kidnapped human girls in a storage room. At first, the 5 were uneasy, but Jack assured them he had ordered the tribe not to touch them, and he would ensure they were clothed and fed from now on. If an opportunity arose, he would even return them to a human town. The red-haired girl was suspicious. Why was Jack helping them so much? What did he want in return? Jack replied it wasn't a big deal. He wanted to learn more about human knowledge. After asking around, he learned the girls' merchant caravan had been attacked by goblins. All the men were killed, only these 5 survived. A few days passed, and the girls realized Jack really wasn't a bad guy. Not only did he not harm them, he even prepared human food for them. Through these days of interaction, Jack also learned that humans didn't evolve like goblins did. Instead, they developed many different professions. The short-haired girl was a blacksmith. The blonde sisters were a cook and a tailor. The green-haired girl was a rare alchemist. As for the cheerful redhead, she seemed to be a novice warrior, not particularly useful. While looking after the human girls, Jack, as leader, didn't neglect training his tribe. He suspended the monthly hunting activities and had the whole tribe train together. The older goblins resisted, but after a couple of punches, they kept quiet. Another day passed. It rained outside, so Jack paused training and had the tribe observe a sparring match between him and Gubji. And that's when something happened that made Jack resort to killing. The former leader, Gob's sword, had long despised Jack's ways, having 5 fine women and doing nothing with them. So he sneaked into the storage room with his followers, but Jack appeared right behind them. Jack quickly dealt with the 5, but Gob's sword remained defiant, refusing to obey Jack's orders. Jack didn't hold back. He kicked him squarely in the head. Then he walked over to the red-haired girl and said, "Sorry for scaring you." Those words instantly put her at ease, and she threw herself into Jack's arms. Other goblins, hearing the noise, rushed over. Jack ordered them to wake everyone up and gather the tribe. He was going to show them exactly what happened next. So, in front of the entire tribe, Jack subjected Gob's sword to the harshest punishment, then asked with a gentle smile, "Now do you all understand our village's rules?" The lesser goblins didn't dare not nod. Only by the next morning did Gob's sword, still hanging from a tree, finally die. In the following days, Jack resumed hunting activities. With perfect coordination from Gubji, Jack took down another formidable enemy, a tri-horned horse. After eating it, Jack gained 6 powerful skills. Among them, triple thrust became his favorite. A single sword swing automatically struck 3 times. No wonder the tri-horned horse had been so strong. Night fell, because Jack had saved the red-haired girl earlier. Her was maxed out, and she offered to sleep beside him. But the next morning, when he woke up, Gobmi was curled up on his other side. Jack was stuck being a pillow, unable to move. A few more days passed. Gob Jiang, who helped carry luggage on Jack's hunts, also evolved into a mid-tier goblin. With training showing good results, Jack divided the village into 5 squads. Gubji became captain of the heavy armor squad. Gobmi led the ranged attack squad. Hobbly headed the light armor squad focused on mobility, and the newly evolved Gob Jiang was put in charge of the rear support squad for miscellaneous tasks. As for the tribe's only mage, Hobster, Jack let him form his own magic squad. After organizing the village, Jack decided to go hunting alone. He had just learned a new magic skill and wanted to test its power. Jack never expected the offensive magic to be this strong. Feeling pretty powerful now, he ventured deeper into the northern forest. After walking quite a distance, Jack noticed signs of battle nearby. He remembered old Gob's warning from his youth, never go into the northern forest. A terrifying monster called the Crimson Bear lived there. Looking at the tri-horned horse killed in a single strike on the ground, Jack realized what he was up against. But before he could plan his next move, the Crimson Bear found him. Anyone sane would run, but Jack drew his weapon. He wanted to win, and to eat his foe. He was clearly the weakest goblin, but when facing the forest ruler Red Bear, he did not feel fear at all and instead felt excited. After eating Red Bear, he evolved again into an ogre, and he broke the goblin race limit and became a goblin king. Not long ago, in order to hunt stronger monsters, Jack came to the northern part of the forest. Suddenly a pool of blood on the ground caught Jack's attention. Very soon a massive red bear appeared right in front of Jack. Most people would run when meeting such a threat, but Jack chose to fight head-on. He activated a new skill, Final Spear, and threw it with full force. The red bear's right arm was cut off instantly. This completely enraged the red bear. It swung its huge claws and charged forward. Jack quickly used a backstep to dodge. Soon he found an opening and launched a fierce attack, but the red bear's skull was harder than steel and could not be cut. Jack felt pressured and rolled back to create distance. Then he used the silk bind skill to restrain the red bear, but this only held it for 2.5 seconds. The moment it broke free, the red bear breathed fire. Jack had no time to react and almost turned to ash. Luckily, he had a healing skill taken from a triceratops. He hid nearby and slowly recovered his health. After fully recovering, Jack set up a battle plan. He charged straight at the red bear, and at the moment it released fire, he wrapped his body in water magic. This allowed him to strike the red bear's weak mouth. Jack thought he had succeeded, but the red bear still had strength left. It slapped him once and dealt heavy damage. A normal person would have died on the spot, but the more Jack was hurt, the more excited he became. After being unconscious for a night, Jack woke up. He ate the bear paw lodged in his chest. After gaining 2 new skills, Jack passed out again. At that moment, the system evolution prompt appeared. Jack immediately chose confirm. On the morning of the 3rd day, he woke up feeling intense hunger, so he ate the nearby bear head as well. Unexpectedly, he gained 2 more skills: Mountain Lord Roar Pressure Gaze and Full Resistance. The remaining part was the bear's body. Jack planned to skin it and make clothes, but when he picked up his dagger, the blade seemed smaller than before. Jack looked at his own body and realized he had evolved into an ogre. He returned to the village. The goblins saw him and immediately panicked. An ogre invasion meant they were doomed, but Gobumi recognized Jack at once. She had worried about Jack for 2.5 days. Angry, she kicked Jack once, but with full resistance Jack was too solid. Gobumi rolled on the ground in pain. After learning the ogre was Jack, everyone was completely shocked. Jack was only a little over 1 month old, yet he had defeated the northern forest ruler, and even evolved into an ogre. To them he was no different from a god. The man never imagined that after gaining the power of gluttony, he had already become the strongest in the world, only to run into one of humanity's 8 heroes today. From his appearance alone, Jack recognized him. A member of the 8 Hero Knight Corps, known as the Corpse Insect Hero. Greenhair didn't expect Jack to know who he was, but he hated that title, because it made him sound like some kind of pest. In the next second, Greenhair dropped his disguise and his eyes turned into compound insect eyes. Jack immediately realized those eyes were a blessing from the god of demon insects. Greenhair then pulled out undead insects created through necromancy. He yanked out the stopper and scattered the undead insects over already dead bodies. The corpses instantly began moving again. At first, Jack thought the undead insects were just parasitic bioweapons, but under Greenhair's control, the upper bodies of all the soldiers transformed into insect-like forms. This was Greenhair's undead insect army. Moments later, countless insect soldiers charged at Jack. With no time to dodge, Jack was instantly surrounded, but Jack wasn't weak either. In the blink of an eye, he broke free and sent the insect soldiers flying one by one. Seeing this, Greenhair grew even more excited. Only a fight like this was truly fun. He then began personally commanding the insect troops. This time, their attacks were perfectly coordinated. Even with Jack's heightened perception, he was struck several times. Fortunately, Jack's regeneration was incredible. These minor wounds meant nothing to him. Greenhair remarked that any ordinary mutt would have been long dead. So could Jack handle what came next? At that moment, Greenhair unleashed even greater power. After gathering energy for a few seconds, a massive centipede appeared on the battlefield. Its oppressive presence was terrifying. Jack immediately sensed trouble. He had never seen a bug this big before. Before he could form a strategy, the centipede charged, slamming into Jack and sending him flying several meters. Then the centipede clamped down hard with its jaws. Greenhair proudly said this was his favorite pet, a notorious monster classified as a calamity level designated individual. Jack tried to break free, but no matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape. Worse still, the centipede's mouth was filled with deadly poison. Even the slightest exposure would paralyze a person's organs and kill them. And yet Greenhair watched Jack still clinging to life and couldn't help but praise his toughness. But as the toxin spread through his body, Jack was already on the brink of death. The weapon in his hand slipped free and fell. Greenhair dragged Jack over, assuming he was already dead, and set him down. Afterward, Greenhair declared the battle over and dismissed the centipede. He planned to take Jack's corpse back for dissection, since Jack's abilities fascinated him. But when he looked again, Jack had suddenly vanished. Cold sweat poured down Greenhair's back. He couldn't comprehend how Jack escaped a guaranteed death. With the giant centipede already gone, he had no choice but to use one of his trump cards. Before he could even explain it, Jack suddenly launched a sneak attack, and the trump card in his hand was completely erased by lightning. Jack followed up by swinging a massive axe at Greenhair, but to his surprise, the heavy blow was easily blocked by the tentacles on Greenhair's body. Those tentacles were another of Greenhair's trump cards. They could absorb the abilities of other insects and turn them into his own power. The sight made Jack's appetite surge. At that moment, the tentacles lashed toward Jack, but he effortlessly cut them apart. Then he punched Greenhair into the air and fired a spear of finality straight at him. Unfortunately, it missed. Jack's strength caught Greenhair completely off guard. Not only did Jack evade his attacks, he countered with a rapid series of strikes in an instant. Being pushed this far by someone who wasn't even an awakener left Greenhair stunned. Jack grew curious about what an awakener even was, but Greenhair had no intention of explaining, which only made Jack even more interested. If he wanted to keep his mouth shut, Jack would just beat it out of him. In just 2.5 seconds, Greenhair was beaten to the point of total helplessness. Realizing he was no match for Jack, Greenhair decided to retreat. To Jack's shock, he shed his insect body and fled right in front of him. Jack tried to chase, but was blocked by the empty shell. Although he smashed it easily, Greenhair still managed to escape. At that moment, Gabumi and the others finished wiping out the remaining enemies. Meanwhile, during Jack's fight with Greenhair, he had already sent a clone imbued with stealth abilities deep into the forest. There, it found the Empire's next emperor, and told him he no longer wished to continue fighting the human army. He handed over the elves' secret medicine. With this, the bedridden princess's illness could be cured. There was no longer any need for both sides to keep sacrificing soldiers. After saying this, he vanished into the shadows. The prince instantly broke out in a cold sweat, terrified, and hurriedly sent troops back to the capital to report that the elves' secret medicine had been obtained. Jack could have killed the next emperor on the spot, but that would only push the Empire to wage total war against the elves, so there was no need to trigger a full-scale conflict over this. In this battle, Jack's mercenary group suffered 30 casualties. In this world, if the dead aren't properly laid to rest, they turn into zombies or ghosts, so it was decided to gather everyone, offer prayers for the fallen, and then cremate them. Some people were left in sorrow, while others chose to carry on that spirit of bravery.
皆の反応は様々だったが、俺は別に悲しいとは思っていない。涙を流すことも、後悔の念を抱くこともない。ただ、あいつらの分まで意地汚く生きてやろう。そう思っただけである。
And never expected that after becoming the Goblin clan chief, the entire tribe would begin evolving under his influence. Gobugi, who rose at the same time as him, not only evolved into a subspecies of ogre, even Hobster suddenly evolved into a half-mage Oni. There was even someone with the aptitude of a healing cleric. But not long ago, goblins, as the weakest race, had always been looked down upon by other races. For example, the elves who arrived this day clearly came because humans had set their sights on the elves' secret treasure, fearing humans might come to seize it. They came seeking assistance, yet their attitude was not a request but a command. Jack could not stand their arrogant tone, and directly refused. After all, if you want help, you should at least show sincerity. But the moment he said this, the elves immediately tried to use force. Jack did not indulge them at all, and directly released the pressure of an ogre. Just a small portion of it made the elven leader collapse to his knees. Then, after roughly lifting him up, Jack told him that if he did not want his head relocated, he should have the guards hidden around them lower their bows. It turned out the elves had stationed many archers in ambush. Jack had already detected them with his perception skill, but he had no intention of pursuing the matter and merely taught them a lesson. As he stabbed his spear into the ground, the next second countless spear phantoms appeared, precisely surrounding all the hidden guards. This was a legendary weapon Jack obtained from a treasure shop. Within a radius of 100 meters, he could endlessly manifest spears. Seeing this, the elves immediately began retreating. Jack did not stop them, believing that after such a warning they would not dare trouble them again. But 2 days later, Jack realized he had miscalculated. The elves returned with even more manpower and all had their weapons drawn. There was no need to think they were clearly here for revenge. Before long, all the elves were captured. After learning it was because Jack had humiliated their leader last time, Jack no longer showed any mercy to such foolish behavior, but simply killing them would be a waste. So he had the elves conduct mock battles with his tribe. Those who could win would not be killed. Of course, this did not include the leader. Jack sent him on his way directly. Soon the results of the battles were out. Out of 23 elves, 6 were defeated. Jack kept his word and ate the defeated ones. After obtaining some elven skills, he had not yet decided what to do with the others. Though they would not be killed, letting them leave was impossible. Early the next morning, Gobugi encountered a change. After reaching level 100, he evolved just like Jack. His body grew even larger and his skin turned red. His physical body became even more outstanding. Though unlike Jack, he was only a subspecies. Even so, his strength underwent a qualitative change, and Gobugi had clearly not learned his lesson. The first thing he wanted to do after evolving was still to challenge Jack. He knew that after Jack evolved into an ogre, he had lost evenly matched opponents, but now it was different. Jack accepted without hesitation. He was also curious how strong Gobugi had become. The battle quickly broke out. With testing in mind, Jack did not use any skills, and relied purely on hand-to-hand combat. He soon reached a conclusion. Gobugi's strength was on par with his, but his combat technique was still a bit lacking, just like their battle as mid-ogres. After seizing a single opening, Jack won. Even so, Gobugi's strength was already impressive, and unquestionably reached the level of a sparring partner again. Then good fortune followed one after another, for more goblins in the tribe evolved into mid-ogres. Not only did one have mage aptitude, another even had the aptitude to become a cleric. This meant the tribe finally had a healer. But what surprised Jack the most was still Hobster. He also evolved upon waking this morning. Yet unlike Jack and Gobugi, he evolved into a half-mage Oni of the Ogrekin line, and unlike normal Ogrekin, his body bore additional markings. What shocked shocked Jack was how similar these markings were to his own. As he wondered what was going on, Hobster was eager to test his new power, so Jack had no choice but to set aside his thoughts and head into the wild with him. As expected, after evolving, Hobster's magic power increased significantly, and he still had energy to spare. If he wanted, he could bombard another 20 times without issue. Jack then gifted him equipment as congratulations. Seeing how high the evolution rate in the tribe had become, Jack began pondering the reason behind it. First, it was surely related to him, but that was only an assumption. Could goblins' growth rate change due to their living environment during the first month after birth? Why 1 month? Because so far the older goblin showed no signs of evolution at all. The next day, when Jack returned from hunting, he saw exactly what he had anticipated. Some older goblins were planning to leave the tribe and were discovered by Jack. The reason was not only that their efforts brought no reward, they had been surpassed by the younger ones. More importantly, Jack also forbade them from touching women. After being discovered, they were quite straightforward. Kill or spare us as you please. But when they thought death was certain, Jack surprisingly had no intention of stopping them. He let them leave freely because they had neither stolen nor robbed anything. All their equipment was their own, and as a parting gift, Jack even gave them mithril daggers, capable of cutting even ogre skin. After seeing them off, that night Jack informed the tribe of the matter and said that anyone else who wanted to leave could do so now, and he would treat them the same. The result greatly pleased Jack. Not a single one chose to leave. In the following days, Jack experimented with several interesting things. After accidentally defeating a few gray slimes, he never expected that after eating them, he would gain a clone skill. Unlike ordinary clones, he could create one from a single drop of blood, and even share vision with them. After understanding its potential, Jack immediately made outing clothes lined with his blood for each member of his harem. This allowed them to function like transmitters, so he could rush to their aid instantly. He also made earphones mixed with his blood to serve as communicators, and distributed one to every goblin. One day while Jack was strolling through the forest, he discovered a human killed by a demi-beast, though the man was already dead. After avenging him, Jack gained a very interesting skill. That skill was monster breeding, as the name suggested. It allowed him to tame forest monsters for his use. The Triceratops horse, as Jack's first formidable foe, was chosen as the first test subject without hesitation. The results satisfied him greatly. He then began large-scale monster subjugation. First gray bears, then the forest's black wolf king, which he appointed as a bodyguard for humans. Worth mentioning was that Red Hair was no longer the rookie warrior he once was. Not only had his combat skills improved during this time, but he also unexpectedly gained a new class called Magistone Warrior. Though failing to regularly consume monsters would lead to death, the growth of his abilities was astonishing. This day also marked 2 months since Jack's rebirth. That night he suddenly awoke from a dream. As his perception skill told him, a group of kobolds were desperately running toward their territory. The man unexpectedly reincarnated as a goblin. He thought he would rely on his devour skill to become the strongest, but his fellow tribesmen evolved even faster than he did. Gabumii evolved into a half-vampire subspecies. Not only could she generate and control large amounts of ice, but her eyes also possessed a natural charm, able to mesmerize enemies with ease. Gabuji evolved into a half-earth demon. He could easily detect weaknesses in rock layers, while his physical strength was greatly enhanced. As for Hobori, he evolved into a half-blood sword demon. His ability allowed him to manipulate blood and wield it as a weapon. What puzzled Jack was that all of them had developed tattoos similar to his own, making them far stronger than others of their kind. If ranked purely by racial strength, even Jack, now an advanced ogre, could only place 5th. No longer distracted by other desires, Jack focused on hunting. This time, he ventured deeper into the forest, an area inhabited by insect-type monsters. After slaying a mantis, one of the skills he obtained caught his attention: exoskeleton armor. He hadn't expected much when he equipped it, but the armor proved incredibly durable, complete with self-healing properties and impact dispersion. Ordinary attacks couldn't breach its defense. Not only that, it also granted him the ability to fly briefly. But during the hunt that day, he suddenly spotted 12 armed humans. After trailing them and eavesdropping, he learned their target was to kidnap the daughter of the Elven clan leader. They planned to ambush her on her way back from a festival. The reason her route was known: there was a traitor among the elves who leaked the information. Jack didn't have to wait long. Soon, the Elven procession appeared in his sight. Protected in the center was clearly the clan leader's daughter, even more beautiful than Jack had imagined. But then, the humans launched their attack. Jack didn't act rashly. He simply watched coldly as the battle unfolded. The outcome, however, was one-sided. Clearly, the elves hadn't expected an ambush. The Elven princess was successfully captured by the humans. Jack held no particular fondness for elves, and initially had no intention of intervening. But suddenly, a bold idea formed in his mind. Without hesitation, he took action. After effortlessly eliminating the humans, he brought the Elven princess back to his tribe. At first, the princess assumed Jack had ill intentions, but after he explained what had happened and promised to return her to her tribe the next day, she finally calmed down. Still, she couldn't help feeling angry. Why had Jack saved only her, while leaving her companions to their fate? Jack's answer was simple. What does the conflict between elves and humans have to do with me? Shouldn't you be more concerned that there's a traitor among your own? Think about how your route was exposed. Hearing this, the princess finally stopped pressing him. Soon, the two arrived at Elven territory. Jack's appearance as an advanced ogre goblin naturally made the elves view him as an enemy. What they didn't know was that they were the ones truly surrounded. That's right, Jack alone was strong enough to overpower every elf present. Fortunately, the princess intervened in time, explaining that Jack was her savior. Eventually, they met the Elven clan leader. As soon as Jack sat down, he stated frankly that saving the princess wasn't out of pure pure goodwill. The clan leader was sharp-minded. He immediately ordered preparations for a reward. This also served as Jack's test for him, to judge whether he was worthy as a potential ally. The leader didn't disappoint. His reward was an elven family heirloom, a magical bow with a certain hit enchantment. Seeing that the leader wasn't like the foolish elves he'd met before, Jack began offering gestures of goodwill. He first shared intelligence about the human military, then exchanged various useful equipment and resources with them. For now, both sides had established a friendly relationship, but these weren't Jack's greatest gains from this trip. As he was leaving, the elves gifted him their specialty, premium wine and honeyed elixirs. Originally, the elves were only tentative partners in Jack's mind, but now they instantly occupied an important place in his heart. After all, in his past life, Jack had been a devoted lover of wine. The man never expected that after evolving into an ogre, not only would his strength improve dramatically, but even the girls he had saved earlier would actively seek his affection. So Jack accepted them all without hesitation. But he didn't let himself get lost in pleasures. While building his harem, Jack also kept training his goblin followers. Yet after his evolution, he was simply too overpowered. Ordinary goblins would nearly die from just a touch. And even Gobji, now a hobgoblin, couldn't withstand a single move from Jack. So he had to pause training and visit the logistics unit in the tribe. Jack thought he could slack off for a couple of days, but then Gobji Yang suddenly brought over a blood-covered carbuncle, a very rare type of living doll. Jack immediately used healing magic on it. 2.5 minutes later, the doll woke up. It thanked Jack and explained its situation. Not long ago, it had been attacked by human adventurers. Because the gem on its head was an extremely high-quality treasure worth over $1 million, it hoped Jack could help drive the adventurers away, and in return, it would offer a legendary artifact from its master's vault. It turned out the doll's master was a legendary mage, and its role was to guard the hidden treasures left behind. Since the master hated humans in life, rather than letting humans take the treasures, it preferred to hand them over to Jack, a goblin. With such an offer, Jack naturally agreed. He followed Gobji Yang to the treasure vault. The tunnel had been accidentally dug through while mining for spirits earlier, which was how they'd saved the doll. Jack had his followers hide in the tunnel, while he alone confronted the adventurers attacking the doll. After all, he had been human in his past life. He didn't want to kill his own kind without cause. But before Jack could even speak, a human assassin used an invisibility skill and launched a sneak attack. Yet such a cheap trick couldn't fool Jack, easily blocking the long sword. Jack stated this was someone else's vault. They had slaughtered the residents here without the owner's consent, and even tried to steal the treasures. That was nothing but banditry. Being lectured by a mere ogre instantly angered the adventurers. But Jack's next words were even more arrogant. While effortlessly dodging their attacks, he said, "You're lucky. I'm a kind-hearted person. If you leave now, I'll let you go." The adventurers ignored him. They thought a single ogre could be dealt with in just 2 moves. But what they never expected was that Jack was not only unbeatable in physical combat, but even a third-tier magic spell to the head only left a minor scratch. Since they insisted on fighting, Jack decided to stop trying to talk. He cast an earth spell, restraining all 4 of them, then ordered his hidden followers to attack. The 4 had no time to react. In just 2.5 seconds, they were wiped out. Their corpses weren't wasted either. Jack and his followers shared them as a meal. This time, the new skills gained were impressive. Not only could he use the assassin and paladin classes, but he also acquired abilities from mage and priest. After dealing with the bodies, Jack noticed they had rare items like spatial storage bags and rings of invisibility. Without hesitation, he ate those too. With these new abilities, Jack headed to the deepest part of the treasure vault. The doll explained this was its master, because its core had been damaged during the earlier attack. Its remaining lifespan was short, and it could no longer guard this place. It told Jack he could take anything here, then passed away, leaving only the billion-worth gem on its head. Jack promptly ate it, and gained a skill called Golden Rule. Then everyone began collecting treasures from the vault. Jack's newly acquired spatial storage skill came in handy immediately. No matter how much loot there was, it could all be stored easily. After clearing the vault, they all returned. Jack thought leaving the doll's master's remains there didn't feel right, so he cremated the body. But unexpectedly, one gauntlet remained unaffected by Jack's magic. Thinking it might be something special, Jack equipped it on his severed left hand. Instantly, the gauntlet fully fused with him. Then the system notification appeared. It was a legendary artifact that granted immunity to all magic. Just like that, Jack obtained another divine-grade equipment. Back with the tribe, everyone first held a celebration party. Then Jack had the appraiser girl examine the acquired artifacts. Upon learning most were legendary-grade items, Jack was stunned. Apparently, by standard classification, even a single legendary artifact could shake a nation. But here, Jack had basically gotten them wholesale. After choosing a handy weapon for himself, Jack decided to go hunting alone. Now, he could defeat a golden spider in one strike. After a satisfying meal, he obtained an upgraded version of the thread manipulation skill. Soon after, he encountered a rare red-horned deer, highly aggressive, but in the next second, it too ended up in Jack's stomach. As he ate and wandered, Jack came across a very strange tree. He remembered Elder Gobu's words. In this world, there existed creatures called Treyans. They would attack males of other intelligent species and turn them into nutrients, and Jack had been targeted.